Good afternoon. Pleasure to have you here with us for the Lisboan Live. My name is Gudmund Jonsson. I'm the founding principal of the Lisboan. The focus of our session today is to introduce you to one of our founding team members, Casey Hebbel, and she will be joining us shortly. At the moment, we are resolving a few technical issues that we are ironing out. As ever, when you need the technology to work, at times it won't. So we're resolving that in the background. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start off by giving you an insight and a flavor of this beautiful school of ours, the Lisboan International School, here in the heart of Alcântara, in the district of Lisbon, Portugal. And then as Casey joins us, we will have a conversation, Casey and I. Casey joins us as a teacher of drama at the Lisboan, and she is a specialist in musical theatre and choreography, currently residing in the USA. So I'm going to start my presentation, so bear with me just one moment. See, with me. Apologies, this is proving to take a bit longer than anticipated. So, the Lisbon International School. This remarkable project, the story started about 4 years ago. We are part of a group of schools, an education group called Artemis Education, a British-owned group of schools. We have sister schools, 3 of them in Doha, in Qatar, and the Lisbon is our 4th school. And it has taken 4 years as a project to redevelop these extraordinary buildings here in the heart of the city of Lisbon. And what I'd like to do is just give you a flavor of what we're about, what we're aiming to achieve through the Lisbon International School. And then hopefully, as our technical issues are resolved with Casey Hebbel, she will be joining us during the course of this presentation and conversation, as I say, hopefully. But at the same time, also, we'll give you an opportunity to ask us questions. So if you have any questions, please put them into the chat. And then as we conclude our presentation and conversation with Casey, we'll field your questions. So do, as I say, put them into the chat. So the Lisbon International School has incredible history and heritage behind it. The buildings themselves started off as a pasta factory built between 1905 and 1910. We are right on the northern bank of the River Tagus in the district of Alcântara. And here you can see this picture here. It shows the main building, the external, the east-facing part of the main building. We actually have a combination of 4 buildings. We have the 3 original historic landmarks, and then we also have a new building. I'll come on to that later. But on the right-hand side there, you can see some of the beautiful photographs from when our buildings were the Napolitana, as the factory was called, pasta factory. And that company now exists in the form of a national company called Nacional. And it was mostly women who worked in the building for decades, manufacturing pasta. We aim to incorporate a museum into the school, and of course this provides an amazing educational opportunity for our students, for our young people, to actually build our museum and then manage it as well. tapping into the extensive archives that exist in relation to whether it be photographs. And of course, there are people living in our community who actually worked in the factory itself. So there is incredible opportunity there through our history and heritage. This video is a short clip showing basically some of the spaces across the school. Bear in mind that these are computer renders. We will be replacing this video soon with an actual version of the buildings themselves as they currently are. Development or the redevelopment of the buildings is largely complete. Almost all of our classrooms are ready. And it is one of the highlights of my week is to actually take people on a tour around the buildings. So if you go to our school website, the-lisboan.school, the-lisboan.school, you can actually book a tour of our campus. We have one tour planned this coming Saturday, and we then have one across July, and then August has a number of tours that you can book as well. So encourage you to book a tour if you haven't seen our buildings, to come so that we can show you all of the different spaces, beautiful spaces across the school. So let me just start this little clip for you. So this is one of the gates into the school. This is the early years centre, our theatre, one classroom in the sixth form centre, the senior school library space. We are now starting the landscaping of our courtyards at the moment. And this is our dining hall. We make all of the food ourselves on site. One of our science labs. Very green, lush spaces in our courtyards. So, a little flavour of the spaces across the Lisboan. A few recent pictures. The exteriors of the historic buildings. So the picture on the left-hand side, you actually see the entrance into the dining hall on the ground floor, and then upstairs where you see that circular window, that is actually where we have our theatre. So we have a theatre that sits about 175 people. Is a glorious space. In this building, when it was a pasta factory, the water pumps were housed. And the building on the right-hand side of it, behind the building that houses the dining hall and the theatre, that is actually, you're glimpsing a part of the big main building which houses the majority of classrooms. And on the right-hand side, this is the building that today we call the silo. This building originally housed all of the flour to manufacture the pasta. And for the Lisboan, we'll house what we call a parent welcome centre on the ground floor. So this is a space where you can come at any point in time across the week, where you can socialise with other parents, meet members of our team, come for product presentations or different music, theatre productions, whatever it may be. And that building, on the 4 floors above the Parent Welcome Centre, we have science laboratories. We have basically 2 large spaces on each floor, a combination obviously of 8. And so the majority of those spaces are science laboratory. We also have a maker space for robotics, for 3D printing, and for other exciting technologies. And we also will have a dark room for analog photography as well. As I said earlier, the majority of the classroom spaces are done in terms of the fittings going in. All of the structural elements are long finished. And you'll see that, for example, in the top left image, we've got lockers. Lockers have all gone in. The top central image and the top right image show a feature of all of our classrooms. We call this the learning wall. And so it's a combination of storage elements, shelving, and at the heart, we will have a Promethean screen, which you don't see on these 2 pictures. They've been ordered and of course will arrive before we open our doors to our staff and children. But the top right image shows those two white panels. These panels you can slide to back to reveal the screen, and of course back in place to hide the screen. I'll talk about technology in just a moment. We want to be very intentional about the way in which we utilize technology to make sure that we're leveraging all of the exciting opportunities that technology represents. But at the same time, we also want to be very mindful about the potential negative impacts that the over-reliance and overuse of technology can have. Bright spaces across the school, views from the majority of our spaces, whether it be across Alcantara, particularly on the upper floors of our school, or into our quad internal spaces, is just remarkable. The bottom middle image there shows the sports hall. So we have the three historic buildings that we've been redeveloping, and then we have this fourth building, which contains our sports hall. So this is a modern build. However, its style, certainly its facade, is built in the original design style of the historic buildings themselves. We have a full-size basketball court basically in that space at the moment. That picture is actually a few weeks old. At the moment, we have all of the wooden flooring going down and all of the ceiling has been completed. And that new building also contains our music department. And then in the year's time, we will introduce a gym, a dance studio, and a yoga studio. And this new building also has an underground car park beneath it, which parents may use. Some further pictures. These are pictures from the various teaching spaces and also office spaces in the school. The two central images, top and bottom, are from our administration or corridor. That's where my office will eventually be. And then the spaces there on the left and right from, I think, the staff room on the top floor, and two spaces which we can actually collapse into one big spaces. And we have quite a number of these large spaces which are flexible in their design. A huge amount of thinking has gone into the design, not only in terms of lighting and texture and color schemes across the school. Hugely important for nurturing healthy and exciting learning, but also the well-being of everybody who inhabits the building. Some further classroom spaces there, and you can see the lockers have all gone in. And we're now just waiting all our orders, all of our resource orders to arrive, whether that be furniture, books, etc. That is all due to arrive before we open our doors to staff on the 18th of August and our students and families on the 1st of September. It gives me great pleasure to share with you that we had recently appointed our founding head of primary, a key position for us, Elizabeth Acom, a highly experienced international educator. She is a wonderful addition to our team and brings a depth of experience and insight into not only running early year centres and primary schools, but also has that international and global perspective and outlook. We have spent an incredible amount of time, and of course, I would argue this is probably in terms of investment of time and effort, recruiting our team to make sure that we're creating an exciting and stimulating forward-thinking learning environment, curriculum design, etc., for all of the students joining us is essential. So of all of the positions that we recruited, this is arguably one of the most important, but of course, every single position is important in our school. We started the recruitment process for all of our positions, various positions, back in January. And having now worked in international education for quite a number of years, over 20, I have never seen a response like it. We had over 700 applications for the various teaching roles that we have now largely completed the recruitment drive for. So very exciting to have Elizabeth Acom join our team. As I mentioned earlier, we have a presentation. We actually have a temporary office right next to our buildings here in Alcantara, a Regus office space that we use. And on Saturday morning, I believe it's at 10 o'clock in the morning, we will have a tour of the campus and a presentation. And you can come and meet Elizabeth and myself if you would like to come. And I encourage you to come on Saturday if you can. And you can book that through our website. On the front, on the homepage, I believe there is a book a tour button for you to then be taken through to a booking form. Made in Lisbon, ready for the world. This really encapsulates beautifully one of the elements of the wonderful facets of the Lisboan, that we are here in Alcantara, that we leverage and celebrate this incredible country and this incredible city that we inhabit. And this is evident in many different kinds of ways. But ultimately, it has to be about making sure that the curriculum, the learning environments, the educational opportunities that we're providing for our students are such that they foster within every single child and young person that comes to join our school the understanding over time that we share far more than divides us. That regardless of your cultural background or where you may be from, we have that shared humanity. And of course, the wonderful opportunity of living and working, playing in an international school is that you get to do that with young people from all over the world. And we're seeing interest in our school from all over the world. We're going to have a very diverse community of people, and there is strength and opportunity in diversity. And of course, the hope is that through their experience at the Lisboan, that our young global citizens can go out into the world and be able to make sense of the numerous challenges, the extraordinary level of information that we are bombarded with on a daily basis, to be able to create meaningful opportunities for themselves, and so that they can flourish regardless of where they find themselves, and hopefully also be able to make positive impact for their communities as well. Now, this is arguably one of the most important facets of any school. Our mission, our vision, our values. Why do we do what we do? And how do we want to achieve our mission? The BOA principles, as we call them, at the heart of our school, one of the central facets of our DNA, if you like. And of course, BOA meaning good in Portuguese, and being obviously central to the word Lisboa and the Lisboan, belong, own, and act. I feel that this is a beautiful way in which to encapsulate really the foundations of a strong education, that we nurture a sense of belonging within our community. And of course, to build community, community is all about relationships. And when I'm asked to describe this book, I often describe it as a community school, that we are wanting to build a community. And we do that by nurturing belonging. And you feel that strong sense of belonging if you have voice, if you're able to have ownership to a degree of your environment, that you have a say in it, and that you are given the ability to act and put your learning into practice. And of course, that act itself is part of the education process. And so together, the synergy between these three concepts, I would argue, make up essentially the fundamental foundations of a strong education. Our curriculum, of course, very important. We are a British international school. And that's not to say, of course, that to be a student of a school, you need to have had attended another British international school, or necessarily would have to go on to another British international school. The nature of international education is such that our curriculum is designed in such a way that you can really come in from any other educational platform or different system, or go on to another different type of system, whether it be an American international school or indeed into a Portuguese national system, etc., or coming from one, as it were. So we are a Cambridge International School. What does that mean? It means that we utilize an educational curriculum framework that is based on the English national curriculum, and it has been internationalized. So this is a premium leading educational framework used by international schools all over the world, and it underpins the curriculum for our early years. So this is from age of 3 to 5 years old, and then across the rest of our primary school. So the primary school takes us up to year 6, or if you're used to the American system, that is grade 5. And And then we go into the secondary school. So that's a transition from the primary school into the secondary school in year 7. And then we also utilize the Cambridge International Framework for our middle school, if you like, the sort of lower part of the secondary school. And that takes us up to year 11. And then for the final 2 years, the pre-university years, if you like, year 12 and 13, or grade 11 and 12, this is where we will introduce the IB diploma. And this is a world recognized or high quality educational program recognized by universities from across the world. And very much aligns with the values, our bold principles in terms of what we're trying to achieve, providing depth and breadth. All students are required to study a subject from the humanities. They study mathematics, they study sciences, they study languages, mother tongue, and also additional languages, etc. So it has incredible breadth. And at the heart of the program is something called the theory of knowledge, a program learning how we think about the world. How do we know what we know? An incredibly exciting program. Also, they write an extended essay, which is a 4,000-word research essay. And all of this is excellent preparation, not only for life at university beyond our school, but for life beyond university, that we nurture our students to become lifelong learners. Note that we will open in September from the early years, so from age 3, all the way up to age 14, approximately. So that is year 10. So for year 10 and 11, that is actually a separate 2-year program called the IGCSE program, or the International General Certificate of Secondary Education. So we will start the first year of that 2-year program, go into the second year in the year beyond our first year, and then in 2 years' time, we will introduce the IB diploma. For those of you wondering about IGCSE options, we have options available and that we are now communicating. We're about to communicate, for example, with the families that have already enrolled into year 10. So that information is going out imminently. And I can come back to that in the Q&A part of our presentation today. Let me see. Bear with me just a moment. I'm just having a look at.
Quick note, Gudmundur, we have good news that Casey is able to join the meeting.
Oh,
and so we're able to start the session for those parents who are very interested in our drama and theater.
Wonderful. Now, let's do that in just a couple of minutes, John, and then we'll introduce Casey. Okay?
For sure. Sounds great.
Wonderful. Excellent. And thank you for your patience, audience. We've had some, as I said at the beginning of our session today, we had a few technical issues that we've had to iron out, and thankfully we've been able to do so. So the curriculum is central to our school, of course. It really sits at the heart of what we're about, clearly. I could characterize the curriculum in such a way that it is inquiry-based, that we explore big picture questions through thematic units and different themes. So rather than, as has been done for many, many decades, arguably centuries of looking at education or learning through individual disciplines, we do that by looking at key themes, key challenges, key questions, and then bringing together the disciplines that are relevant to examining those key questions to explore them and ultimately delve into them. So inquiry and thematic approach is central to our approach to the way in which we explore the world of knowledge and education and skills through our curriculum. Technology obviously is very important to us, and as it should be, but we want to make sure that we are utilizing it in such a way, we're being very intentional about how we use it, that our children are ultimately able to utilize it as they need to in their lives, but also they are not dependent on it. Now, there's a challenge, if ever there was one, particularly in this modern day and age, where dependency on devices, even addiction in some cases, and the growing body of evidence suggests that the overuse of technology can have quite negative repercussions for the mental health and social development of young people. So we want to make sure that we are educating for creative use of these technologies. Of course, that's what we must do. But the flip side of that is equally important. So we have made the decision to be a no-phone school, meaning that we will not utilize phones within our school across the day. If phones are brought to school, they're put away there's a pouch that we will have and operate where the children will lock away their phones across the day, and then they can retrieve them at the end of the day. And this is not about banning the use of phones. We are not putting our head in the sand and thinking, that these devices are somehow all negative. Of course not. But it is about educating for responsible use. And we want to make sure that we are fostering our community, building our relationships, having those face-to-face conversations during the day at school. So I'm going to stop there. And so bear with me just a moment. And I'm going to, so just let me see just a moment while I put away my presentation. And I'm very excited to welcome Casey Hebbel to our session today. Casey.
Hello. Hi.
Wonderful to see you.
Wonderful to see you as well. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties.
It happens. I'm just very relieved and happy that we've managed to resolve them. These things do happen.
Me too.
Technology has a tendency it's almost as if it knows at times that when you most need it, it's almost as if it senses it.
You were just speaking about technology and I thought, well,
Right.
I think this is appropriate.
Well, Casey, welcome.
Thank you.
So obviously the focus of our session today is very much to introduce you and for us to have a conversation together. I was just on campus this morning and walking through our beautiful theatre, and it is just so stunning. Casey, you and your family came. It seems like such a long time ago now.
I know, it was back in April, I guess it was, and it was beautiful then, so I can only imagine what it looks like now.
It is very different now, the campus, as to when you saw it back in April. Hello, Casey. I would really love for you to for our audience here. Of course, I know you to a degree, of course, having recruited you into this role and us having met, whether it be online and face to face. Please, would you introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely, absolutely. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to meet you. My name is Casey Hebbel. I am currently located in actually Breckenridge, Colorado, where I am working for the summer, directing and choreographing a show that opens the day after tomorrow. But my home in the States has been Nashville, Tennessee for the past 10 years, where I have worked as an educator, an actor, a director, a choreographer, and lots of combinations of the above. And I am really so thrilled to be joining the Lisboan team. I'm coming over to Lisbon with my husband, Matt, and my daughter, Emerson, who will be in the youngest year at the Lisboan, which we're so excited about. She's 3. And yeah, we're really so thrilled and so grateful to Gudmundur for bringing us on board. And it feels like a whole family coming on board. I know I'll be the one teaching there, but it's really a whole family affair, and we can't wait to be there.
We can't wait to have you here, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a big new chapter, a new adventure for all of you, and for all of us actually together.
Right.
In creating not only you building your lives here in Lisbon and getting to know this extraordinary city. I moved back here. I moved to Lisbon in March, and I have lived in many different countries across planet Earth over my time over the last 20 years, and I can safely say that Lisbon for me is shaping up to be one of my favorite cities. It is such a beautiful, beautiful city. So very excited to have you. Look forward to welcoming you all to the city of Lisbon and to the Lisboan, of course.
Thank you.
Now, Casey, I'd really like to start off our conversation, and so the audience gets to know you a bit more as well, in terms of thinking back to what first sparked your love for the performing arts, and how that passion has evolved and changed over time.
Absolutely. Um, it's funny. I always tell this story. It's sort of family lore, if you will. Um, but I really fell in love with the performing arts at a very, very young age. I mean, I feel very lucky in that I was exposed to the arts very young, which makes me very excited that we'll be doing that at the Lisboan, that even our youngest years will have a taste of the performing arts. Because my grandmother took me to see The Sound of Music at the National Theater in DC, where we were living when I was born. Uh, we went to see it when I was 4 years old, and which is quite young to go to a long theater production. The Sound of Music is not short, for those of you that know it. Um, and the family folklore goes that I was singing along the whole time, and
Oh,
my
beautiful.
grandmother had to keep tapping me on the shoulder saying, it's not your turn to sing right now. It's their turn. Um, and yeah, the famous story is that I sort of tugged her on the sleeve as we were leaving the theater and said, I'm gonna be up there someday. And I don't know if those were the exact words that I used as a 4-year-old, but that's how the story gets told. And I really did. It was something that I fell in love with at such a young age. And so I was in dance classes from a very young age, and that creative expression has always been so important to me and so much a part of my life, um, through dance and music and acting and theater. And I think the performing arts are so intertwined. Um, and it's so exciting for me to be coming in on the ground floor of this amazing new school and thinking about how we're going to build out this program to make it a full, um, a very full and rich experience. Because for me, my passion really did evolve over time, where I started out as a performer. Primarily, I studied musical theater performance in my undergrad degree. And I lived in New York City, and I was auditioning for shows, and I was performing all over the country, and that was my main job. And and by doing that, I that's how I fell in love with teaching. Actually, I got hired as a performer and teacher for a summer program. It was sort of a joint job, and it's where I fell in love with teaching. And I think the performing arts actually has a really special ability to open your horizons to um, lots of possibilities, and it prepares you so well for so many things. I think that's one of the things I love so much about it. And so yeah, as I fell into teaching, just to give a little bit of more of my history, as I fell into teaching, I started working with students, and I absolutely loved that. And I realized sort of what I had in me to give to students, and how that really was fulfilling me even much more than performing was. And that opened the doors to directing and choreographing, and all of these pieces are part of my professional puzzle now. And it's been a really awesome journey.
Extraordinary. Now, so much of what you say resonates strongly with me, Casey. My background is in music as a performer,
Yes.
um, and I think there is, without a shadow of a doubt, and of course, it's also backed up by extensive evidence and research as well, that having a strong focus on the creative arts and nurturing that passion and interest within young people spills out into all areas of life and all areas
Everything.
of learning. For us to be, for you to be a strong scientist or innovator, you need to have that creativity. So it's something that we are so excited about as having as one of our sort of core central pillars at the Lisboan. And of course, learning is important regardless of where it takes place. And then I think the other piece of that for me is also the impact it has on your soul, on your heart, for your well-being. As somebody who used to sing very frequently and somebody who hasn't sung for quite a while now, it's almost like there's a blockage here. And so I can't wait to actually get to sing.
Yes, I was going to say we need to change that.
We
We
do.
need
We
to
do.
change that.
We do. Absolutely. Now, thinking about our performing arts program, and of course, it doesn't exist yet. This is, I think, is one of the great challenges and opportunities. First, I should say opportunity before I say the word challenge. But of course, the two are always intertwined. When you think about a thriving performing arts program, and so if we, I guess I'm asking you to predict the future in some sense, or cast your mind forward to the future. And once we built up that program together, what do you think it's going to feel like and look like for our students and staff and the wider community, our families? So I guess I'm asking you, what do you think a thriving program should look like?
I think well, first of all, I love that you ask, what does it feel like? Because I think that's so much a part of what makes a program thrive, is that it feels a certain way. I think, to me, it feels inclusive. It feels like a place where everyone belongs, right? And that's not just our students, that's the community too. And I think it's both our family community and the wider community of Lisbon. I think the performing arts has a really amazing opportunity to reach beyond the walls of the school. And so I'm really interested in, what are the community partnerships that we are building? And I know that's something you really are passionate about too. And, how do we expand? How do we sort of bust out of the walls of our school and reach into the community and bring people into our community and bring our students out into Lisbon as well? I think I hope that our performing arts program is a place where students, whether they're going to pursue performing arts professionally for the rest of their lives, or they're just curious about creativity, either way, they feel that they are at home there, and they feel like it's a place where they can be brave and step toe a little outside of the line of where they thought was comfortable. One of the things that I talk about when I'm directing a show is that I'm really interested in the cast and the creative team and everyone feeling like it's a brave space versus, sometimes we use the word safe space, which I think is obviously important too. We want everyone to be safe. But I like the word brave space for performing arts because you constantly are asking people to take just a little step beyond what they think their edge might be. And I think if you've created this really supportive, really empathetic, really community-driven environment, then people are willing to be really brave, and it leads to a lot of really exciting discoveries, self-discoveries, and learning discoveries. And yeah, I think it's a place, I think performing arts in general, the performing arts program should be a place where people are discovering connection and community and empathy. And that's what I hope it feels like.
That sounds like a wonderful vision, a brave vision and a bold vision. Now, it's interesting to see as well for our families and prospective families, the inquiries that we get, whether it be people here inside of Portugal or from across the world. We're getting inquiries from all over the world. And I'm starting to see over the past months where I've joined the team, is that we are having people, a lot of interest is being expressed by people within the creative industries and the creative arts. So that's also very interesting and exciting, I think, for us as well.
That is exciting.
So in terms of the partnerships that we build with parents and families, the opportunities that we can also provide for them in coming into our school, in working with us, I think is also something that is incredibly exciting. There's a lot of potential there, I think. Now, changing tack slightly, Casey, can you share a moment in your career when you saw, through the work that you did with young people, that you have done and are doing with young people, where you've seen a student or a group of students really come alive through the arts, and when you've really seen that difference and that impact that it has had on them, and how that was meaningful to you?
Yeah, I think one of the amazing things about the performing arts, the arts in general, is it is a place where students come alive. Like it sounds cheesy or like an overreach to say this, but like it happens every day. Like I literally get to see it happen every single day in the work that I do, and it's why I do the work that I do, because every day I witness a student come to life in the arts. I mean, it's the whole point. um, but I was trying to think about like, what is a specific instance what's a specific story that I can tell? And I think for me, I think about most recently I've been working at a university, Belmont University, in their musical theater program. Um, so those students are a little bit older, they're college aged. And I was working on a production of a very obscure little show called Starting Here, Starting Now that no one's ever heard of. Um, but it's a musical review, and it has all these songs in it by a set of composers. And uh, it's very, it's sort of it's not specific characters playing specific roles. It's just this series of songs. And so you can sort of assign songs to actors however you want to, however makes sense for your production. And I assigned this song Autumn. It was made famous by Barbara Streisand. I don't know if anyone knows it.
I know the
Again,
song.
you do.
I do.
Yeah. I should have assumed that you knew it actually. But it's a beautiful song. It's a gorgeous song. And I assigned it to a student, uh, and he, a male student, and the song is normally sung by a female. And he looked at me at one point. We had been rehearsing for a while, and he looked at me at one point, or he came up to me after rehearsal, and he said, "Casey, do I need to change the pronouns that I'm singing?" And and I said, and I just said very simply, "Well, what do you want to sing?" And I I think he had never been given the autonomy to make that choice. And the way that I saw his face change in that moment was really amazing. I think all of a sudden there was this trust, there was this understanding, there was this feeling of being seen, there was this feeling of being heard, and there was this feeling of being known uh, in a way that maybe no one had tried to know him before. I'm not sure. But it ended up being one of the most powerful songs in the show, because just because I had asked a question. I mean,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because I had asked a question and opened a door, and I
Mm.
think arts open the door to expression in a way that really is expansive.
I have goosebumps. My God, well, that's an incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah,
That really
absolutely.
is quite an extraordinary recount of that experience. And it's certainly, again, thinking back to my own experiences of working with young people, and as a teacher and as an educator, those sort of Yahoo moments and those magical moments, where you see that there's a realization, whatever that realization is within that young person, um, makes it all worthwhile. All the stresses and the strains and the tears and the And that's what makes it all worthwhile.
100%.
Now, how about, so I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about how you approach creating spaces where all of the students that are working, all of the young people that are working together, whether it be, well, I guess from your focus, of course, from musical theatre, from drama, from performance, where they really feel a part of the show. Because I can imagine at times you will experience people, and probably not too infrequently, who really find this quite challenging. You know, that they're having to in some way expose themselves to and take that risk and be brave. And so what sort of approaches do you take in sort of bringing them on board and getting them to open up and take that step forward and be brave?
Yeah, I think it's, there's so much community building that happens in a theater space and in a theater classroom and in a production, and there's all this community, right? That both naturally happens and happens very intentionally where we are I spend a lot of time making sure that instilling the spirit of gratitude. I try to lead everything with gratitude, and I try to remind our students to be grateful to all of the pieces of the process. And I think that's one of the things that's really important to me, is that there's not like a star of the show. There's not the one kid in drama class who's like, oh, like, well, they're obviously the star, right? They have no fear and they just get up and they want to be on stage, and that's awesome. We love that, but we also love the kids who, want to build the sets. They're just as important. We love the kids who are designing the sound for us, the people who are designing the costumes. Like, all of these people are equally important, and it is so incredibly vital that we are grateful to every piece of the process, because it's such a community event, and that goes down. That's from every person across the board, and it's not a top down thing, it's a this way thing. And I think there's such a spirit of that if we instill that from the very beginning, it does really even the playing field. um I also think there's obviously a lot of like scaffolding in place for those students who are going, I don't know about this. Like, I'm not really sure that, you know, being on stage or getting up and performing is going to be for me. That's fine. That's fine. We can still explore and we can still play. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me, is that theater can always feel like play and it can always feel like exploration. And when we approach it that way in the classroom versus a performance, it can feel a lot less intimidating. And I think it can open some doors and create some discovery for those students who maybe are a little more hesitant to jump in, when we approach it as exploration and play.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, Casey, what I want to do now is, for our families, prospective families, and families who've joined us for the call today, is just open up the floor to some questions.
Absolutely.
Whether it be about the performing arts at the Lisboan, about and anything for yourself, Casey, or myself. So please, let's hear some of the questions that have been coming through.
This is the part where I jump in.
Hi,
We have
John.
one question for Casey. There are other parents and other questions, I think, general in the school, but one person has mentioned their daughter is super excited about theater and the arts, but is terribly stage fright. How do you help someone who is just terrified of an audience?
Absolutely. That is totally normal and totally understandable. Like I was saying, I think there's this approach and this feeling that we can create of play and exploration. There's also things that we can do to support, taking baby steps onto stage. It's okay to be afraid. That's a normal human emotion, and it's an emotion that we explore in theater. And I think knowing that that is uh, one of the things I love about theater is that it allows us to tap into our emotions and really understand what we're feeling. Um, I remember speaking to a student one time who said, I get so nervous when I have to audition. Like, what do I do? And I said, well, think about the character that you're playing. Is that a nervous character? And they were like, no, she's not. She's not nervous. And I said, great. What kind of character is she? Well, she's she's kind of boisterous and sassy. And I said, great. So how can you take on that boisterous and sassy? Like, let's put that on. You're going to become that person when you have to audition because that's the role that you're playing. And their their little mind was blown. They were like, "Oh, you're right. I don't have to be my nervous self because I get to become someone else." And that's so cool. That's such an amazing part of theater. And so I would love to invite this student to say like, wow, maybe in an exploration of a new character, I can become someone who's actually not afraid. And we can do that in physical embodiment. We can totally change our physicality to become a bigger, more expansive, more open version of ourselves, right? So that it's all in our body and it's in our heart, right? And I think that's a really cool thing about theater. So those are just a couple things.
Amazing. Great. We have another question, and it's kind of directed towards both of you. What is the plan for productions or any kind of events that we are planning on doing with the theater or drama department this next year?
Good question. So this is a conversation that Casey and I will be having immediately once Casey and the family have actually arrived here, to actually start making decisions around things like productions and performances at the Lisboan across this first year, whether it be a Christmas performance or any other performance that we would want to have on offer. Certainly from the get-go in terms of our curriculum, drama will have a central space in our timetable. So, for example, in our senior school, students will have timetabled drama lessons. In year 10, it'll be one of the optional subjects that students can actually choose to have drama as well. And then, of course, drama will be a rich element as well as the arts, the creative arts, across the whole primary school as well. And of course, that also applies together with the senior school. But that's a conversation that we need to have, Casey, once you're here and once you actually get to know the children and see our facilities and actually start working within them and getting to know them as well. And start building. We also, I think key to that is also building those relationships, whether it be with our families and the parents, and also getting to know the organizations here in Alcântara and Lisbon. We have for example, and this is something that happened just very recently. We have a music school right next to us. It's about 400 meters away, right next to us, just to the west of us, the Metropolitana. And so building a program with them where they can come in and offer, for example, one-to-one music tuition on different instruments. They have choirs, they run choirs, they have a professional orchestra. And there's dance. I mean, that's a relationship right there, which inserting you into that relationship, if is that an appropriate way to put it, is key as well. And so building those relationships and building the understanding, I think is going to be really key. And I think also based on the interest of the children, I think I would argue too, where do they want to take it? I think that's also really important. They need to be a part of that dialogue because remember, one of our guiding principles is own.
Right. And I'll just say, as Gudmundur knows, I from day one have said, so we're going to do productions the first year, right? and he's been very, very excited and generously saying, yes, if you want to do that, that's what we're going to do. And I think it's exciting to hear someone interested in that. And I can't wait to meet you and learn more about your interest. And I'm excited. I have relationships with other international theater teachers and writers. I have a friend from college who he is one of his jobs. He went to grad school for musical theater writing and got his degree at NYU. And he now writes original musicals specifically for schools, and original musicals and plays. And he writes them for specific age groups and specific sizes and all of these things. And we've already talked about like how he can cater things to us and to our community and to the Lisboan. And so I'm excited to see not only what relationships we can build within the community, but also what relationships can I bring into the Lisboan
Absolutely.
from people that I know from being in this industry for a lot of years.
Wonderful.
That's great. We have a few questions that aren't as directed around theater. So Casey, we'll keep you on site in case one comes up, but
Perfect.
There's a few kind of get to the details questions that I'm going to shoot towards Gudmundur, but we'll keep you in case someone else asks. All right. Gudmundur, there's a question around, will there be an outside play space or playground for the primary school?
Yes, there will be. We have a central court, two big central courtyard areas. There will be play space for the children there. The early years school, obviously as part of the primary school, they will have two dedicated gardens. So the early years center, and remember this is for children aged 3, 4, and 5. This is a school within a school. So it's a completely dedicated space on the ground floor of our main building, or on half of the ground floor, which is a very substantial space. And they, as I say, they will have their dedicated gardens. We also have a park, what was a public park next to the Lisboan, which was going to be replaced with a new build. And that project has been delayed by a number of years, I understand. And we have exclusive access to this park as well. So that's also an exciting option for us in terms of being able to have outdoor play space. Of course, being an inner city school, being in this incredible area here in Alcântara and in the center of the city, we don't have as much outdoor space as schools that are out on the sort of outskirts of Lisbon. But of course, on the flip side of that is that we have this incredible opportunity in our immediate surroundings. So, for example, we have signed an agreement with Atletico. So this is a sports club just north of us. And that they have a full-size Astro football field. There's a swimming pool there as well, which we will utilize, for example, for our sports program. And as part of our activities program or co-curricular program, we have, for example, we're going to be using the Escala climbing wall, which, if you don't know where it is actually bolted. The climbing wall is part of one of the pillars of the bridge, of the 25th of April bridge. And it's an incredible facility, and it's literally just around the corner. So there will be a lot of opportunities for actually being able to be outside and to play, of course, in the immediate vicinity on campus of the school. We have those central courtyards where we have play equipment and benches, etc., and grass areas and trees, beautifully landscaped, and that park, what was that public park right next to the school as well.
Nice. All right, we have a question. We have some parents who, and you kind of alluded to this before, but parents of year 10, grade 9, curious about IGCSE options in our opening school year.
Yes, so students going into the IGCSE program, going from if they're now in year 9 going into year 10, although I imagine the majority of students are probably actually are now into their summer holiday, or certainly in the last week of school, I imagine. So they do their core subjects. So that's for English, maths, sciences, and physical education. And we also have a course that mirrors the core of the IB diploma that we'll be introducing in 2 years' time, which is very much around creative thinking, critical thinking, about activity and service, and also around research skills, study skills, and things like that, and also life skills. Those sort of practical things that schools, I think, often don't really offer students to explore. How do you open a bank account? How do you manage your finances? How do you boil an egg? I mean, how do you iron a shirt? Yeah, I mean, I'm serious. I mean, these are important skills. And then the options will be for languages. Students will choose one language. So obviously, English is the central language of instruction across the whole school. But in terms of an additional language, they can choose, or as a native language, you can choose Portuguese in year 10 as a native language or as a foreign language, or you can study French. So one of the 3 options. And then in terms of the other subjects, basically they're in two groups, if you like. So you can choose from geography or music. And then in the other group, you can choose from either computer science or art or drama. So you could, for example, if you were wanting to, you could do both music and art, or music and drama, for example, or computer science and music, or whatever the combination that would be. So that's what we have at the moment. And of course, that offering will expand as we grow as a school.
That's great. In keeping things in the name of time, since it's 4 o'clock, we're going to close things up.
Yes.
But if you have any more, hold on just a second. What is the planned student to teacher ratio?
It is approximately 1 to 8 on average across the school. We have a maximum class size from 10 to 22.
Very nice. Okay, but if there are more questions, please. Yes.
Yes, I think we'll bring it to an end. We've now reached the end of our schedule time.
Perfect.
John, if you could bring Casey back onto the screen.
For sure.
Casey, thank you so much for coming today and for joining our Lisbon live session. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, to talk to you. And thank you so much for sharing your stories and your insights with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to hopefully meeting all of the families that were on today, and just can't wait to get to Lisbon very soon.
We look forward to having you all here. And thank you for all of our families, prospective families, friends, supporters who have joined the Lisbon Live today. Come and see our school. If you haven't, go book a tour and go and look at our website, the Lisbon School, but to learn more about us if you haven't already. Thank you so much. Casey, thank you.